Hello, everyone. We're the Ambassador David Eby. This is yours truly, Eric Glazer, and this is your Sharp Squares podcast for Conference Championship Weekend, Week 21. If you're keeping score, last week our algorithm, there were no medal games, but our algorithm went 2-1-1. That makes us 6-3-1 for the playoffs. However, because there were no gold medal bronze games, Greg and I had to make our own picks. We went a little bit against the algorithm, and of course, we went 1-2-1. You would think we know better. We're 4-3-1 in our pool for the playoffs. All right, we have a really jam-packed show for you. We're going to cover some trends. We're going to cover handicapping highlights for each of the four teams so that we can help you make your own decisions. And we're also going to throw in some of our favorite props that we caught on tape from all of the shows as well. So a lot for us to cover for you. There's no reliable data on gold, silver, bronze, or using any of the sharps, the few that took sides, to give you anything of any value. So we collected all the best highlights and arguments for each game, each team, and we're going to let you make judgment calls, and maybe the props will help you out as well. Our favorite degenerate, Greg Roth, has a stipulation in his Sharp Squares contract that he must record a podcast on pickleball players over the age of 60 who still play with the torn meniscus in Broward and Palm Beach counties. So he is doing that right now. He may join us late. We will see. If not, he will be back for the Super Bowl episode. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in the ambassador live from Commander Country. And let's start with the AFC Championship. And let's start with some analysis that would lead you to want to play the Eagles. Most of these games were taken at -6, some at -6.5. Take it away, David. All right, not gold, silver, bronze, but important handicapping highlights for each of the final four NFL teams this season. Let's start it off with the ambassador and the Philadelphia Eagles. Take it away.
Thanks, Eric. We are going to start our tour around the podcasts with the Dream Preview and their take on the Philadelphia Eagles game, specifically from an Eagles point of view. They say Philadelphia will win the line of scrimmage. The key stat is the line of scrimmage EPA, where Philadelphia ranks third in the league and Washington ranks just eighth. They also say that Philadelphia excels in closing out close games, dominating late game scenarios, which is interesting considering how many close games Washington has won in the fourth quarter. They say Washington ranks number 2 in playoff luck, a stat used by pro gamblers. And finally, Washington faces a historic disadvantage, playing their 4th consecutive road game.
From the Favorites podcast, turnovers were the key to Washington winning their previous playoff games. It will be very difficult to force a turnover against Saquon and the Philadelphia offense that is incredibly run heavy. Additionally, looking back, the Commanders were just 9-point underdogs a few weeks ago to an Eagles team that were better on paper. Does the Hurts injury to the knee factor into the -6, or is there maybe some value because of the hype surrounding Washington?
Moving on to Before You Bet, they say Washington is a one-man team with Jaden Daniels, but what a one-man. Am I right, Eric? They also say it'll be incredibly difficult to overcome this Philadelphia defense by himself. Washington probably won't be able to force Philadelphia to abandon the run. Nobody's been able to do that this year. Washington won't make an injured Hurts uncomfortable. This is, as mentioned before, Washington's 4th straight road game. And finally, the Philadelphia secondary should be able to clamp Dyami Brown. The wide receiver's volume is dependent on how open they get, and they don't expect that he'll get too open.
More arguments for the Eagles from beating the book. When the Commanders played Philly last time, they could not run the football when these teams matched up. Washington led in the first half, but then Philly made adjustments and then pulled away nicely. They also think you should take A.J. Brown under 16.5 receiving yards because he is just not right.
The gang from Pushing the Pile says the Eagles' front seven against that Washington offensive line will prove to be too much for Jaden Daniels. Daniels will have a tough go at it because Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter will prevent any type of rushing attack, and they'll force Daniels to beat them with his arm. Washington lost right guard Sam Cosmi, probably their best offensive lineman in the game last week against Detroit. He handled Carter well during the regular season games, and if he's not there, well, what's Washington going to do? Finally, they asked the question, can Washington get Philadelphia to 3rd and long? Because Barkley is almost automatic on 3rd and short.
From Forward Progress, the Sam Cosmi loss that will affect that interior line is going to be up against an excellent defensive line for the Eagles. That could lead the Commanders to play a more spread out offense and move McLaurin around into the slot. Advantage Eagles.
All right, now let's move to analysis favoring Washington. From Bet On It, Washington won the last matchup even while committing 5 turnovers. Washington has punted the ball just once, through 2 postseason games this year. And Philadelphia has a lot of injuries stacking up on both sides of the ball.
From the Action Network, Philadelphia has been outgained in both playoff games and by 4 out of the last 5 playoff teams that they have played. Outside of chunk runs, the offense has been very inconsistent. Hurts is not 100%. Of course, he injured something last week. His knee, ankle. He has a leg injury.
Knee,
thank you. I was going to say lower extremity. Philadelphia struggles to stop 4th downs. Washington only missed 3 during the regular season. The Nakobe Dean injury could prove to be critical in this game. Oren Burks filled in admirably last week. Daniels is 5-2-1 against the spread as an underdog. Hurts as a favorite of 4 more is 15-20-2 against the spread. 6-12-1 over the past 2 seasons. That's all from Action Network.
by the way, Greg's back from his other podcast here, if you didn't notice. From Even Money.
Pickleball. Do we handicap pickleball?
You do.
Middle-aged pickleball. Yeah.
According to that was the cover I put out there.
The line's always Roth minus 120.
QB from Even Money, quarterback Quinion Mitchell for the Eagles was limited this week due to injury. This will be the 4th straight road game for Washington. So the geeks hate them. You've heard this probably trend everywhere you've been listening to podcasts. But Even Money believes, and this is Steve Fezzik, I think, who was talking, that because everyone hates the 4 road games in a row, this may allow sharps and others to steam the game up to 7. Could be some value here on Washington. Also, Washington has 8 days to prepare, which is an advantage. Teams with an extra day during this round are 10-6 ATS, but the Eagles are still going to win this game, so tease the Eagles.
The guys at Forward Progress say that one thing to keep in mind is that the Eagles have not trailed much this year, and if they get forced into passing situations, that could be an advantage for the Commanders.
From the Dream Preview, despite having 5 turnovers in a previous matchup against the Eagles, Washington still managed to win, showcasing their resilience. Betting on Washington in the third quarter is considered a strong play as they have shown solid mid-game performances, benefiting from adjustments after halftime. Washington tends to struggle in the fourth quarter, but perform well earlier, making a targeted bet on the third quarter advantageous. That's according to the Dream Preview. They also say Washington's wide receiver Dyami Brown has emerged as a major offensive threat in recent weeks, consistently surpassing his yardage projections. In fact, I think I saw Steve Fezzik had a over Brown yardage prop somewhere.
What was the yardage?
I know you were going to ask me that. I don't know the answer. I'm going to say 53.5, but I'm going to get back to you on that.
But for what it's worth, Hitman had an under. So
for what? For what number? All right. Still with the
Jewish.
Say also with the Dream Preview, the public tends to undervalue Washington due to their road heavy schedule, but Washington's recent ATS performance suggests that they keep games competitive, particularly when undervalued by this public perception. Could be value there. The betting line movement also suggests that sportsbooks may adjust too heavily against teams in Washington's road game streak position, also creating opportunities for value for all of you out there. And finally, Washington has shown a pattern of winning close games and performing well under pressure, ranking 9th in fourth quarter win share, indicating their ability to stay competitive until late in games. Reasons to take the 6.
Bezek's Brown yardage over was 43.5 minus 115.
There you go. That's the value. When you push him to do better, he always comes through.
All right, now let's get to some analysis favoring the Kansas City Chiefs. From Bet On It, they say it seems like we've seen this film before. Buffalo dominates in the regular season, and then KC wins the playoff matchup. This game opened at Pick'em, and now KC's 1.5 point favorite. Finally, when a number 1 seed plays a number 2 seed, since 2019, the number 1 seed is 3-0 against the spread and 6-2 straight up and against the spread since 2015.
From the Action Network, Buffalo is a bottom 3 defense over the middle. All tight ends will have a field day. What if Eby was a tight end? Would he have a field day over the middle?
All tight ends will have a field day. Can't you read?
I guess so. KC will pull out all the tricks against Buffalo, and Buffalo gives up big chunk runs. That's from the Action Network. I don't know if I'm convinced on that one yet.
All right, from the Favorites podcast, Mahomes in November, December, January, when it's 40 degrees or less, 23-2 straight up, 20-0 his last 20. Last loss was to Tom Brady. Kansas City was in the same position last year against Baltimore. They won outright as a 5-point dog. There is no reason to fade the Chiefs, so why fade them at this point?
From Before You Bet, 3 injuries in the Buffalo secondary. That could prove critical. Rapp and Benford, and that would be Taylor Rapp, for former LA Ram, which I know because I'm reporting from SoFi Stadium. Rapp and Benford likely to miss this game.
From Forward Progress, this matchup will be significantly different from the regular season game, where there was no Hollywood Brown. Morris was playing left tackle. It wasn't playoff Kelsey. Also from Forward Progress, the Bills secondary is banged up. They also say the Chiefs won't let Mahomes sit in the pocket and will try to move the ball quickly. Also, the Chiefs' run defense has been above average all season and should be able to contain the Bills' run game.
From the Dream Preview, Andy Reid's coaching in high-stakes games has been a critical factor in Casey's success. His ability to make strategic adjustments, especially in the playoffs, provides an advantage over Buffalo's coaching staff. The Chiefs' disciplined approach and situational awareness, such as strategic clock management and special teams play, make them a reliable choice in close games. If you are betting the Chiefs, it is wiser to take them on the money line rather than laying the points due to the potential for a close game decided by a field goal or less.
All right, let's move to the Buffalo Bills analysis. First, from Bet On It, they say the Buffalo offense makes the Bills favorable in this matchup. They're very efficient in the red zone, and the Buffalo offense doesn't turn the ball over very much or give up too many sacks.
Forward Progress likes the Bills because they find success through the air to their tight ends, and the Chiefs have struggled defending the tight end position.
From the Favorites podcast, Casey struggles to generate pressure. Josh Allen is hard to sack. This is the only worry those guys have about this game.
From Beating the Book, the one thing that a defense cannot game plan for is Josh Allen getting out of the pocket for a large pickup on third down. Can the Kansas City linebackers handle a quarterback of Allen's size? We shall see. Kansas City couldn't move the ball against Houston last week. Outside of Travis Kelce, the offense was not productive. Casey got on the right side of some calls, you might have heard about that extended scoring drives. Finally, Buffalo has not given the ball up yet this postseason. Whoever can protect the football will win this game.
Hey, Greg, before we go, just so you know, we got some trends to support that little stat that EB just noted about the calls. Go
It's
ahead.
so nice when it ties together. Dream preview. The Bills have historically outperformed the Chiefs in the regular season matchups, holding a 4-1 record against them. In 8 total head-to-head games, the Bills have scored more points, 213, than the Chiefs, 201. And Josh Allen has posted better stats compared to Mahomes with 17 touchdown passes, 4 interceptions, and 5 rushing touchdowns versus Mahomes' 18 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and 1 rushing touchdown. Despite perceived struggles, Buffalo's offensive output this season has been strong with a point differential of plus 157 compared to last year's plus 140, proving improved scoring capabilities. Allen has historically excelled against the Chiefs, consistently performing well in rushing attempts and scoring situations. I would say Allen has excelled against everyone. In previous playoff matchups, he has exceeded expectations and is seen as a key factor for Buffalo's success, of course.
All right, we're going to throw a few trends at you guys. This is from VSiN and Steve Makinen, and these are some good ones. In the last 19 playoff games, rookie quarterbacks are just 7-12 straight up and 36.8% ATS. However, if you're so inclined, folks, to take away the Joe Flacco 2009 run, then the record drops to 5-11 straight up and ATS. Also, rookie quarterbacks, which I'm sure you've heard by now, 0-5 straight up and 1-4 ATS in conference championship games. That would point to fading Washington. Road teams that force a lot of turnovers. What's a lot? Over 1.8 takeaways per game. So that would be the Buffalo Bills in this case. They would be a great option for you in the playoffs. They have teams that are over 1.8 takeaways per game in the playoffs, 50, 33, and 2 ATS. That's 60.2% if you don't have a calculator. And that's since 2002, play the Bills at plus 1.5. Philadelphia is on a 21-2 straight up and 16-6 ATS streak as a single-digit home favorite since 2001. And last from VSiN, teams that lost the prior same season game versus an opponent and were then favored in the playoff contest are just 7-10 straight up and a 5-12, lowly 5-12 or 29.4% since 2017. That would mean you want to fade the Eagles at -6 and the Chiefs at -1.5.
From Lock and Cash, Patrick Mahomes as a home favorite of 7 or more in 40-degree temperatures or lower, 6-1 against the spread. From Bet Labs, in NFL playoff games that Clete Blakeman has officiated, underdogs are 10-3 against the spread. Blakeman is the referee for the Chiefs-Bills game. Interesting. Jane Daniels is the 6th rookie quarterback to reach the conference championship game per at Evan H. Abrams. The previous 5 rookie quarterbacks, 0-5 straight up. And finally, in the Patrick Mahomes era, the under is 42, 27-1. That's 61% in Chiefs home games.
And we have some great props and the handicapping highlights to support them, courtesy of P Money. Thank you so much. An incredible job. He is saying take out a mortgage, a second mortgage, a third mortgage. Get a loan from your grandmother to place these bets.
Just to the producers, our listeners, you may want to fade these. Go ahead.
Prop number 1, Dallas Goedert over 38.5 receiving yards. Stuckey from the Action Network at 11 minutes, 16 seconds of that show says the Philadelphia injury uncertainty should help Goddard get the ball more. A.J. Brown only has 2 catches during the current playoff run. Wow, that's shocking. Washington's season-long numbers against tight ends are not horrible, but they have not played great tight ends this year. Goddard was out for one of the divisional matchups between those teams. Opportunities will be there. Goddard needs to capitalize. 5 targets since coming back from injury. He averages 5 catches in the postseason, has never gone below 4. Andy Lang, I'm saying that right, Lang, from Bet On It at the 1 hour, 2 minute, and 51 second mark says since coming back from injury, he has put up 56, 47, 55 receiving yards in his last 3 games. Has Goddard. Hurts doesn't need to throw for a bunch of yards for Philadelphia to win, and Goddard doesn't need a lot of yards for this to cash. Goddard has been getting chunk yards off catches. That's from Andy Lang.
You don't like the word chunk, but you still handled it pretty well there.
It's too chunky.
Prop number 2, Philadelphia team total over 26.5. First from Todd Wishnev beating the book. When Washington recently played Philly, they could not run the football. When these teams match up for the first time, this sounds very familiar. Washington let it to happen, but Philly made adjustments, and Philly pulled away nicely. Detroit could have put up a bunch more points if not for turnovers, and Philly doesn't turn it over, especially with Barkley running. From the Favorites podcast, Daniels is the 6th rookie QB to start a conference game. The previous 5 QBs are, everyone, 0-5 straight up. You're supposed to jump in there. I've only said that like 4 times this show. Road teams are 8-11-1 ATS during the third matchup of the year, and turnovers were the key to Washington winning the previous playoff games. It will be very difficult for them to force turnovers versus the Eagles. Philadelphia has not had a great game yet this postseason. Can this be the time?
Prop number 3 is Josh Allen over 230.5 passing yards. First from Judah Fortgang, is that Suma from Forward Progress at the 22:55 mark. The Bills have been extremely run heavy, and they may struggle versus the Chiefs because KC is one of the best teams versus the run. So naturally, the Bills will have to throw more. Mahomes will move the ball, especially versus the Bills defense that's banged up and dealing with key injuries in the secondary. Christian Benford is in concussion protocol, so naturally, the Bills will have to throw more to keep up with Mahomes. Mike Renner from Pushing the Pile at 22:55 also. I find that hard to believe that they were both at the same time. KC linebackers will look to make Josh Allen one-dimensional and prevent Josh from running the football. These linebackers, Leo Chenal especially, will be key to preventing Allen from making explosive plays with his legs, so he'll have to throw more. Chris Jones is a run stopper. Buffalo will look to throw the ball. Buffalo will be reliant on Allen in this game. That will likely be a high-scoring affair, which means he probably will throw the ball more. And finally, defenses don't decide these matchups. Allen will look to keep pace with Mahomes all game, and everybody throw the ball.
There you go. So you got Goddard over 38.5 if it still exists. Philadelphia team total over 26.5. And Josh Allen over 230.5. Evie, we did a hell of a job when Roth wasn't here playing shorthanded, but Greg, you came in and
Save the day.
You just, didn't even stretch out and got in there. Great job. Great job to PMAC, who was probably his best performance of the season. It's about time he stepped up. No, he's been doing great all year.
MVP Mac.
MVP Mac. Thanks to the entire production team. Thanks to all you listening. But just a reminder, none of us are truly sharp. But this is your Sharp Squares podcast.
Good luck out there.